My man Rick, he did it again. Um, I could not be happier, honestly, with how this first round went for the Vikings. Let me lay down there. Um, yeah, this was a fantastic first round, and I think Rick did. I'm gonna just say Rick. You know, the Center Lives get Rick. So we'll go through it. They stood pat at 22, took Justin Jefferson, wide receiver, LSU, and then they traded down from 25 to 31 with the 49ers and took Jeff Gladney, cornerback, TCU. And boy, I mean, I think both are going to be starters right away. I'm just over the moon with what Rick did and also what he didn't do, um, because the fans that I was seeing on Reddit, they were just screaming, "Trade up, trade up, trade up! We gotta trade up to get these guys." Of course, they all had like different names, but at 22, you get a really good receiver, and you didn't have to trade up to get him. Um, you know, because you got to trade up in the first round. You got to give up something pretty good to move up in the first round. But they didn't have to do that. Rick stood pat, and they got to, he'll be the Diggs replacement basically. Maybe not. I don't know if he's like the exact same style of receiver, but he's going to be the guy. So, and they didn't have to reach. That was a big thing. Like the big thing with you trade someone and then you draft their replacement. A lot of times that's a reach. It was a reach with Troy Williamson for Moss. It was a reach with obviously Christian Ponder. But this was not a reach. This was a guy who fell down. He was drafted, you know, later than most people expected. And then, you get the next pick a couple spots later. They trade down, and what do they get? They got an extra fourth rounder and a fifth rounder. Moved down 6 spots, and in between, I don't think anybody who might have been in the group that they were going to be picking between came off the board, including one move which we'll get to. And then they get Gladney. They had their choice of a couple of defensive backs. But they picked Gladney. I'm not going to discount Zimmer's judgment on that. I'm sure that was a Zimmer move. And so Gladney should go right in there as an immediate starter, I would think. So, and you move back 6 spots. You still get the guy they probably would have taken at 25, and you got a couple extra picks that you can use to move around for the rest of the draft, which I'm sure they will. I think that's just a fantastic draft, and to make it all even more delicious, and this was maybe even more than the Vikings picks, the highlight. Green Bay trades up, and they draft a quarterback. They draft Jordan Love. Just imagining how pissed off Aaron Rodgers must be, because Aaron Rodgers wants receivers, he wants weapons, he wants to go after another Super Bowl. And Green Bay's like, you know what? I think we'll trade up and take your replacement instead. Oh man, and this is so much, and that's totally different than when the Packers took Rodgers, because Rodgers fell to them that year. So it wasn't like, it was like a value pick. This was not a value pick. They traded. I don't know what they traded to move up, but like instead of you know giving Rodgers more weapons for a Super Bowl run, they trade up and get the draft the guy who's going to replace him. Oh, it's wonderful. It's so fucking funny. So fucking funny. Um, but so I can't wait to enjoy the Rodgers meltdown. Um, but back to the Vikings. Great draft so far. I mean, obviously, long way to go. They still have needs. They still have to do something, something on the offensive line. Although I keep hearing Trent Williams as a trade possibility, and supposedly a couple of the other teams that might have been in the mix for him took linemen, took tackles. So if Washington wants to trade him, they might not have as many suitors, which means the price comes down. Maybe you don't have to trade, high picks for him. But we'll see if that happens. I would still think they're gonna draft some linemen the rest of the way. Antoine Winfield's still out there too. Fingers crossed they can get him, but they're probably gonna have to trade up to get him tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, you can't ask for much better. I think for this first round for the Vikings than this. I think you got a great looking receiver, got a nice cornerback who can step right in, hopefully start right away, and we'll see what happens now on days 2 and 3. But Rick, I will never tolerate Rick Spielman slander because he really is. You can almost argue that he's one of the best front office people in the history of Minnesota sports. He hasn't won a title, but his moves are almost always really smart and slick. That's why they call him Slick Rick. So I'm just really satisfied with this first round, and hopefully we can get a couple of day 2 gems, and maybe even some day 3 gems, and maybe even some undrafted gems, and take back the North, and maybe go to the Super Bowl, and maybe have a dynasty, and all that stuff that I'm sure will happen.